Tucked away at the outskirts of a coastal town of Highport, Marcus Atterson secured himself a rental house. This was just exactly what he had been looking for after his recently messy divorce. While the real estate agent showed Marcus around and she called it a fixer-upper with character, he laughed. It had mold on the walls, water leaked in the basement, and that stale air that smelled like rotten junk. But it was cheap and he needed the space for getting back on track. A place to start over. The first 2 weeks were hectic and a bit of a blur of sleepless nights, bad takeout food, cheap beer. At night the house was louder than expected. It creaked and groaned, always a draft finding its way in small gaps, a flickering bulb or two, and always the sense that something had just moved in the corner of his eye. Then one night around 2 a.m., Marcus woke up after a night of drinking. He had the smart idea and decided to rearrange the living room by moving the bookshelf from one wall to another wall. Not because it needed rearranging but because he had some urge to. Marcus felt he needed something to do as he was fully awake now. It was something to keep his mind busy. That's when he heard a loud bang coming from behind the wall he just moved the bookshelf from. Like something or someone behind the wall. As he tapped the drywall came the sound of a hollow echo. Curious now, he pulled the bookshelf further aside and tapped again looking for the end of the hollow-sounding wall. The wall was uneven and water-stained. Years of damp and termites had loosened parts of the wall with chunks of drywall easily falling to the floor as he chipped at it with a crowbar. As he got further in the wall, some planks of old wood blocked his view of a room on the other side. Peeking through the gaps showed a glow of light. Marcus started tearing away at the wood. Behind this wall was a hidden small room, barely larger than a walk-in closet. Stale air rushed out towards his face, thick with dust. He gagged and coughed, eyes watering. As the dust settled inside was a child's chair with straps on each arm. It was way too small for any adult. Humming away in the corner was a 90s TV resting on an old barely standing table. Somehow it was powered on but with no visible cable, a very dusty VHS player connected to the TV and a stack of VHS tapes, with peeling labels on. They were labeled only by years, 95 to 99. All of them predated Marcus' adult years. He called these his gray gaps years. He always blamed these gaps on past trauma, the divorce, the therapy he never followed through on from his early teenage years, the drinking. That was before he watched the first tape. The first VHS tape felt like a found-footage home video. On the tape was what seemed like a family sitting down for Sunday dinner, a woman with tired eyes and a forced smile and a child playing in the background just out of focus, always moving too fast to fully see the child's face. Then came the man. He sat at the table not moving, his face pale and sunken, his expression unreadable. He stared at the camera, not at the person filming but as if he were looking at the viewer. Then he leaned forward and whispered, "Do you remember this, Marcus?" After that the tape just ended in static with a loud scream piercing Marcus' ears. But Marcus doesn't remember anything or anyone from the tape, but the man knew his name. How is that possible? Marcus thought. Watching became a ritual each and every night. Marcus stopped answering calls and texts from friends and family, ignored his work colleagues and even started to miss work. The fridge had gotten empty, the house darkened, and the tapes grew stranger one after the other. In tape 3, the woman sitting at the table no longer spoke, her smile faded away and her hands shook uncontrollably. The child screamed in the background along with the static fading in and out, screams that echoed past the edges of the screen. The man was always sitting and watching. Then the man began appearing in places he shouldn't, reflections, shadows, appearing behind doorways in the room, getting closer and closer towards the camera each time the tape glitched. By the 6th tape, the house on the screen looked like his house. Not just similar but identical to his parents'. The same wallpaper, the same gouges in the wooden floor. On tape 8, Marcus swore he saw himself, just a brief glimpse of his profile in the mirror, as if he was watching or filming this. Then came tape 10. The child still blurred in the background. The child turned suddenly to the camera and screamed. But it wasn't a child's scream. It was Marcus's adult screams that felt raw and agonizing. Like his vocal cords were being pulled from his throat. The walls of Marcus' new house shuddered. That night, Marcus dreamt in flashes of light and static. A room with a locked door, blood smeared across the walls. Someone was crying behind him. Marcus had the sensation of someone watching someone suffering and smiling. Marcus woke up in a sweat, hands trembling. Marcus remembered something, just not enough. Just enough that he needed to know more. In desperation he visited his parents. Marcus's mother opened the door, took one look at him and started to weep. "I thought it was over," she whispered, collapsing into a chair. "We never should have. We should have gotten help. But we didn't. We buried it," his mother said. Marcus' father stood stiff in the kitchen doorway looking pale. "Forget it, Marcus. Let it stay forgotten. Marcus' father said. What did I do? Marcus asked. But none of them answered, or none they were willing to share. No mention of the room. No knowledge of the tapes. Just fear. He returned to his house with no answers to the millions of questions Marcus had in his head. Only one tape remained. No date. No label. Just black plastic, and it was still sealed. Marcus unwrapped the tape and inserted it in the VCR. Just static for about a few seconds. Then, a version of Marcus himself appeared, sitting in the chair in the hidden room. As Marcus was watching the tape, he noticed the time stamp on the tape. It was today's date. To Marcus now nothing felt real. What the hell is going on here? Marcus said to himself, and as he blinked, the Marcus on the video blinked in real time, the same time as the real Marcus did. Marcus reached for the remote just as real Marcus did. His on-screen self rubbed his eyes. Then movement of a dark shadow in the background behind him on screen. The camera shifted. This is impossible, Marcus said, as if held by an invisible force. That's when real Marcus noticed there had never been a cameraman recording the tapes. A dark figure now stood behind him on the screen. Very tall and blurry. Its face is glitchy static. As it leaned forward towards the camera lens, its voice distorted but clearly said, "You remember now, don't you?" Marcus froze. The screen went black. The house went silent. The television died. But something moved behind him. Not in the video this time. It was now in the room.